print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the recent issues of the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. Top story from Thursday, August 13th of 2026. Electrovaya, underlying business, is profitable despite missing earnings projection. Article by John Whitaker. Electrovaya's third quarter revenue was not what company officials expected, but Dr. Raj Dasgupta, Electrovaya's CEO, is still bullish on his company's future. Electrovaya reported fiscal third quarter 2026 revenue of $17.7 million, missing Wall Street estimates by over $3 million and prompting a lowered full-year revenue outlook to between $70 million and $73 million. The news drove stock prices down in the wake of Tuesday's announcement, but Dasgupta said developments the Post-Journal has reported on recently, including a long-term commercial agreement with Amazon and launch of Electrovaya's new Elva Pulse batteries into the data center energy storage market, will drive continued growth. And Dasgupta is still trumpeting the Ellicott factory being fully operational sometime in the second quarter of 2027. On closing, let me end where I started, Dasgupta said near the end of his opening remarks of Tuesday's conference call with investor analysts. I would characterize this as a strategic inflection quarter. Third quarter revenue was not what we wanted, and we are not going to dress that up. But what moved us was timing, not lost business, and that revenue remains committed. Meanwhile, in the span of a few weeks, the developments that define this company's trajectory are all advanced. We signed a long-term commercial agreement with Amazon, already our largest customer. We launched the Elva Pulse into the fastest growing power market in the world. We moved Jamestown to the cusp of production, and we posted the best gross margin in our history while staying profitable. The $5 million in missed revenue comes from a high voltage battery system that was to be delivered in 2026 that has now been shifted back into the first quarter of 2027 because of supply chain issues. There have also been delays with some material handling projects that affected third quarter orders and delivery that Dasgupta said will have some impact on the fourth quarter financial results. Importantly, these are timing shifts, not lost business, Dasgupta said. While the company's missed revenue targets disappointed investors, the company showed continued growth, including in third quarter revenues. The company's $17.7 million third quarter revenue was 3% higher than third quarter revenue received in 2025, while revenue for the 9 months ending June 30th, 2026 was $51.3 million compared to $43.3 million in the same time period of 2025, an increase of 18%. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, EBITDA, is a metric used to measure a company's overall financial performance and core operational profitability by removing the effects of financing decisions, accounting policies, and tax environments. Electrovaya's EBITDA for the third quarter of 2026 was a company record $3.7 million compared to $2.9 million in the third quarter or 2025, an increase of 27%. Adjusted EBITDA represented 20.7% of revenue, exceeding 20% for the first time. Adjusted EBITDA for the 9-month period was approximately $8.5 million, compared to $5.4 million in the prior year period, an increase of 56%. Despite the lower than expected sales, the company maintained the solid margins and profitability during the quarter, said John Gibson, Electrovio CFO and company secretary. Net profit for the third quarter of 2026 was $300,000 compared to $900,000 in the same period of 2025. Company officials said the quarter represents Electrovio's sixth consecutive quarter of net profitability and positive earnings per share. Net profit for the 9 months ended June 30th of 2026 was $2.4 million compared to $1.3 million in the prior year period, an increase of 80%. What did not change during the quarter was the quality and profitability of the underlying business, Dasgupta said. We remain profitable as we have every quarter of the fiscal year, and we believe that the combination of record gross margins and record adjusted EBITDA demonstrates the increasing earnings power of the business, which is still at its relative infancy. Fraud case hits home. DSS worker arrested for allegedly stealing benefits. Article by Gregory Bacon. A Jamestown woman who is a Chautauqua County employee is facing numerous charges after allegedly stealing benefits from some of the clients she serves. It was announced Wednesday that a 23-count indictment has been handed down by Chautauqua County Grand Jury against 38-year-old Amber Tibbetts. Tibbetts works in the South County office building and is a clerk in the Department of Social Services. It is alleged that Tibbetts used existing social service clients' information to issue benefit cards directly to herself. The investigation was initiated after 2 of the victims contacted social services to report suspicious activity on their benefits card. Tibbetts has been charged with 6 counts of first-degree tampering with public records, 4 counts of second-degree forgery, 6 counts of second-degree identity theft, 3 counts of petty larceny, and 1 count of fourth-degree corrupting the government. She has pleaded not guilty and has been released on her own recognizance, as per state bail laws. A second county employee was also charged with 1 count of fifth-degree welfare fraud. That person has not been identified. County officials said the individual is a senior case worker. That case is being handled in a local court. The arrests were announced during a news conference Wednesday, attended by County Executive P.J. Wendell, County Mental Hygiene Services Director Carmelo Hernandez, and First Assistant District Attorney Tom Rankin. Wendell began the news conference apologizing to the public. I want to say I'm sorry to the residents of Chautauqua County. I'm sorry that this involved our own employees, and I'm sorry that this event took place, he said. Even though it is alleged that an employee stole money intended for those who need assistance, Wendell called on the public to trust that justice will prevail. Do not lose faith in the system, nor in the county government and the county system, he said. Wendell said there was a program called the Program Integrity Unit, which was used to arrest the 2 employees. Wendell said the Program Integrity Unit has been used many times over the last 5 years, mostly to arrest individuals who steal other individuals' benefits. He said this is one of the first times the program has been used to arrest an employee. According to Wendell, from 2020 to 2025, the Program Integrity Unit has discovered $7.4 million worth of fraud cases. That means they found situations where $7.4 million of New York State taxpayer dollars were used fraudulently and inappropriately, he said. At least some of those stolen funds have been recovered, including funds allegedly stolen by Tibbetts. Hernandez said typically the Program Integrity Unit is contacted after a client says his or her benefits did not come in or some other individual suspects fraud. They'll start tracking where those monies were spent and who had access to them, he said. Rankin said he wants to protect the integrity of the case, so he was limited on what he was willing to share. He said the 2 individuals were employed at the South County office building in Jamestown. When asked how much money was stolen, Rankin replied, I'm reluctant to give you a specific amount, but I can say she's been charged with felonies for a reason. Rankin also declined what type of sentencing Tibbetts could face if found guilty, saying there's a lot of factors, including if any sentencing could be consecutive or concurrent. Wendell stated that the investigation is continuing, and they will continue to make arrests on this case or others of anyone who steals benefits from county residents. According to seethroughnewyork.net, Tibbetts has worked for the county since 2022. Wendell said she no longer has access to county offices, but did note that she is innocent until proven guilty. Anyone who suspects possible fraud of benefits is asked to call 1-800-388-5365 or contact the Program Integrity Unit on the county website. Housing Committee talks demolition list. Article by Sarah Holthouse. Housing demolitions continue to move forward in the city, and City Development Director Crystal Serdick gave an update to the Housing Committee on Monday about where some specific demolitions in the city stand. The Jamestown Urban Renewal Agency is moving forward with some property demolitions on the most recent list, she said, and there was one emergency demolition the city needed to deal with. The emergency demolition will now shift funding from something else that is on the current list. 3 other properties are currently in the process of asbestos abatement, and another controlled demolition will soon be put out to bid. Properties at 810 and 812 North Main Street are expected to be cleaned up by the end of the week. A question was raised about the status of 114 Steel Street, which was demolished after a fire a few years ago. That is definitely in our queue, but it's an interesting one because it's owned by an LLC, Serdick said. We're trying to hold that property owner accountable through various legal means. At this point, I think we all likely to just clean it up. There's another one on Forest that we're doing as well. What that means, though, Serdick said, is funding for that will be taken away from something else on the current demolitions list. The Department of Development is out of CDBG funding for demolitions for the year, and the next round is not expected until November or December. Serdick noted that the funding is always limited, usually around $100,000. Serdick added that she has to work with City Comptroller Erica Thomas, and they have to look at what funds the city has, also noting that cleanup of the property on Forest Avenue will be expensive. So, yes, it is certainly top of mind, Serdick said. Because it's on the ground, it's not necessarily posing an immediate threat, but it will have to move something off of this list. We always try to hold property owners accountable first. Not that we won't still try to collect from that property owner once we pay for the cleanup. We've already paid for the emergency demolition part, and now we have to pay for the cleanup. Another specific property, 301 Palmer Street, was also asked about by council members. This property is another tricky one, Serdick said, as it was originally slated to be demolished using state funding. But the city has been going through many discussions about it with the state, specifically dealing with the historical aspect of the roof. The roof of the house currently has a tree sticking out of it, but Serdick said the cost for the roof is somewhere around $100,000 because of its historic nature. How complicated the roof is, its uniqueness, and the material the roof is made out of. Because of the historic nature, we would have to use material that would fit that era, Serdick said. Because of all of that, the city is not able to knock the house down with state funding, so some items have been switched around and the property will be demolished using ARPA funding in order to get around that complication. Serdick also noted that the house is far beyond being able to be repaired. There is no current timeline for the property, but Serdick said the hope is that it will be at the top of the queue with the next update, as ARPA funding is also getting close to when it needs to be spent. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Residents Appeal Court Decision Allowing DeWittville Condos. Article by John Whitaker. Residents of the Point Chautauqua area are appealing a July state Supreme Court ruling denying the residents' attempt to stop a new condominium project near DeWittville. The notice of appeal was filed in the state Supreme Court on August 4th. The case will now proceed to the 4th Department Appellate Division in Rochester, and it comes as the town of Chautauqua's attorney has filed a motion to dismiss a third lawsuit filed by the residents that argues State Supreme Court Justice Grace Hanlon already decided the issue in the third lawsuit with her July 15th ruling that allowed the condominium project to continue. At issue is a $70 million development that will include condominiums, townhouses, single-family homes, and a restaurant tap house. The development now calls for 174 residential units among the condos, townhouses, and single houses. The restaurant tap house would be open to the general public. New roads would be constructed. There would be walking trails, tennis courts, and 40 seasonal boat docks open to the public. May lawsuit. A third lawsuit is still active in the state Supreme Court as of Wednesday morning. Filed in May by attorney Stephen Daly, who is representing the residents in all three cases, Chautauqua Protects alleges that the Chautauqua Town Zoning Board acted in violation of lawful procedure with the way it handled its April 21st, 2026 decisions regarding the maximum density requirement for planned unit developments, that the zoning code's subdivision regulations were not applied to Sunset View, and the board's ruling concerning Sunset View's public dock and the anti-funneling requirements included in Hanlon's second ruling. The board issued one bulk determination, while Daly argues the Zoning Board of Appeals should have issued three separate and distinct decisions on each of the challenges Chautauqua Protect raised during the April 26th meeting. Chautauqua Protect is asking the state Supreme Court to vacate the April 21st decision denying Chautauqua Protect's interpretive appeal, declare the three zoning board interpretations as unlawful, and to send the decision back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for further proceedings, and to direct the zoning board to issue specific decisions of each interpretive ruling or render determinations supported by reasoned elaborations. Oral arguments had been scheduled for Monday, August 11th, but Daly sent a letter to Hanlon on August 4th saying he is waiving oral argument and asking Hanlon to decide the case based on memorandums that have been submitted by Daly and Joel Seacrest, the town's attorney, because Hanlon was familiar with all of the issues raised in the May lawsuit. July decision. In the first of three challenges filed by the residents, Point Chautauqua Association, Inc., and Chautauqua Protect versus Town Board of the Town of Chautauqua and 1200 Group LLC, the residents asked State Supreme Court Justice Grace Hanlon to annul Local Law 2 and the State Environment Quality Review Act that supported the law, as well as to require any future State Environment Quality Review Act for Local Law 2 consider the environmental impacts of the project. That motion is referred to in the online court docket information as Motion 1. Hanlon also ruled in a second legal challenge filed by Chautauqua Protects that had been filed in February. Among the issues Chautauqua Protect raised in its filing is that the project exceeds the maximum density requirement under town laws by including 20 more dwelling units than the minimum lot size under town codes allow, that the subdivision-style housing is subject to the town standard zoning rules and can't be part of the planned unit development, and that the development violates anti-funneling regulations intended to prevent developments with small areas of Chautauqua Lake frontage to offer lake access to a large number of people. The project has 190 feet of lake frontage, but would offer lake access on a first-come, first-served basis to more than 170 residential units, their guests, and the general public. The lawsuit also argues that the town's approval relies on incorrect legal conclusion, that the project has the potential to create financial burdens on the community, and that it will create adverse impacts on adjacent property owners, particularly while Sunset View is under construction, and from part of the project's use as an Airbnb. Hanlon ruled against Chautauqua Protects on all fronts. On August 6, Joel Sechrist, the town's attorney, filed a motion to dismiss the May lawsuit based on those same prior cases. Prior to the issuance of those decisions, petitioner had filed the present petition challenging the ZBA's April 21, 2026 decision that affirmed the three interpretations by Code Enforcement Officer Frank Watson on December 4, 2025, that were then validated by this court. Sechrist wrote in his memorandum of law on the motion to dismiss the third lawsuit, the ZBA's determinations are entitled to great deference, are fully consistent with the court's previous holdings, and are free of any error of law or procedural infirmity. The petition should be dismissed in its entirety with prejudice. In our opinion of the Post-Journal, on the opinion section, hard to believe this phase of Army Corps work is nearly complete. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years since the Army Corps of Engineers began its project on Chautauqua Lake. While we continue to deal with many of the typical issues on the lake, algal blooms, removal of newer invasive species like starry stonewort or the water chestnut, and maintenance of long-standing invasive species, the Army Corps of Engineers has spent the past nearly 2 years working in the background. The Army Corps work has been so quiet that many area residents may have forgotten they were even here. Engineers are working to address questions about excess sedimentation in the lake, nuisance vegetation, and harmful algal blooms. There was a fair amount of local action in September of 2024 and early in 2025, but things have been quiet since work moved away from Chautauqua County as the Army Corps of Engineers began its work evaluating management alternatives, analysis of costs and benefits, and preparation of a final chief's report for congressional review. That work is expected to be finished in 2027. The Army Corps of Engineers work shifts to brass tacks over the next 2 years when the work shifts from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. The time is coming sooner than we all think for the Army Corps' draft report to be released to the public, a plan to be endorsed, and then that plan reviewed by Congress for authorization. None of that happens, though, without the next installment of funding from Congress to actually finish the plan. So far, $1.1 million has been spent, and Representative Nick Langworthy is working to bring another $600,000 to the project to complete the study. This next round of federal funding is a necessary next step toward Chautauqua Lake's future. We're spending a lot of money locally on Chautauqua Lake maintenance activities to keep the lake usable for recreation and to protect the lake's habitat for the fish and wildlife that depend on it for survival. That is money well spent, in our opinion. Much of that money is treating symptoms, not finding a cure for excessive vegetation or algal blooms. The Army Corps of Engineers is working on a cure, and we're finding out just how expensive that type of work is. As the Corps' study period comes to an end, the expensive part of this project really begins, paying for the actual recommended projects that could finally allow us to move past preserving Chautauqua Lake's status quo. Carroll approves wind BESS data center moratoriums. Article by John Whitaker. Carrolltown Board members approved battery energy storage system, green hydrogen fuel, large wind energy conservation systems, and data center construction and development moratoriums during their most recent meeting. The moratoriums were approved unanimously. Tim Burkett, town supervisor, said he is looking for town residents who have an understanding or are willing to learn more about the different energy sources so a committee can be formed to make suggestions to the board regarding future laws governing developments of BESS, green hydrogen, large wind energy, and data center projects. Anyone interested can contact Burkett. Carroll officials continue to look for new locations to test for a new town hall. Timothy Eklund, Frewsburg water supervisor, said during a recent Carrolltown board meeting that the site the town originally picked was too close to designated wetlands and could not be used. Eklund said 2 more sites were selected for a hydrologist to test. At the same time, Burkett and Eklund have been talking to property owners of those sites and will be working on agreements for future review by Andrew Goodall, town attorney. Eklund also said that work was completed to clean and inspect the town's 750-gallon water tank on Wigren Road. Town board members also approved an application for $2 million in grant funding that needed to be submitted to the state before the end of July. Board members also discussed sidewalk replacements. Highway Department employees had begun replacing broken sections of sidewalks on Frew Run Street and most of the sidewalk on North Pearl Street from Institute Street to Venman Avenue. Burkett asked Chad Allison, Highway Superintendent, if the Highway Department budget request for 2027 would include additional sidewalk replacement funding. Allison said he would be open to putting in more sidewalks where needed and would investigate the idea before budget discussions begin. The town has a highway right-of-way from Old Fentonville to the Conewango Creek that hasn't been used for nearly a century after the railroad that ran through the area shut down. The right-of-way has been abandoned by the previous Fentonville post office in order to retrieve mail from the railroad when they were in working order. Allison recommended the town relinquish the property with the land split equally between 2 neighboring property owners. Goodell has drafted a resolution turning that property over to adjoining property owners in order to place the property back on the tax rolls. The town has a highway right-of-way from Old Fentonville to the Conewango Creek that hasn't been used for nearly a century after the railroad that ran through the area shut down. Goodell has drafted a resolution turning the property owner. Okay. Burkett also said the town is getting quotes to put air conditioning upstairs in the town hall in preparation of using the 2nd floor of the building for business purposes. More information will be shared at an upcoming meeting. Working together. Women's Giving Circle of Chautauqua County awards $75,000 in grants. By the Post-Journal staff. The Women's Giving Circle of Chautauqua County recently awarded $75,000 through its Child Care Initiative Challenge during the group's annual meeting. The centerpiece of the annual meeting was the announcement of the 2026 grand recipients, selected through the WGC's Child Care Innovation Challenge. Following a full membership vote, the Circle approved funding for both finalists, awarding a total of $75,000 to programs addressing child care access, availability, and support for families throughout the region. The Child Care Initiative Challenge was designed to explore solutions to child care challenges, including non-traditional child care needs, school breaks, and enrichment opportunities. Facilitated in partnership with Allie Coe and led by Katie Castro, The challenge guided participants through a collaborative process focused on identifying community needs, developing an innovative solution, and strengthening proposals. The process engaged more than 40 representatives from 28 local organizations, bringing together diverse perspectives and expertise to address child care challenges across Chautauqua County. The Child Care Initiative Challenge demonstrated what is possible when community members came to come together with a shared commitment to solving complex challenges, said Jane Cleaver Becker, founding member of Women's Giving Circle. By listening, collaborating, and investing in innovative ideas, we're helping create stronger supports for children, families, and caregivers throughout Chautauqua County. This process reinforced that meaningful change happens when we work together. The 2026 grant recipients include Capable and Connected Caregiving, Chautauqua Cattaraugus Library System, $40,000 in partnership with Ahira Hall Memorial Library, Darwin R. Barker Library, and Dunkirk Public Library. The pilot program will support informal caregivers by providing training, resources, and enrichment opportunities through local libraries. The program aims to equip caregivers with tools to better support children while creating accessible learning opportunities for families throughout the community. Happy Haven Respite, Healing World Ministries, Church of God, $35,000. Happy Haven Respite provides free, reliable child care for families facing barriers to traditional child care options, including parents in recovery, single parents, and grandparents serving as caregivers. The program offers care during critical gaps such as school breaks while connecting families with additional community resources and support services. The annual meeting also celebrated the continued impact of the Women's Giving Circle inaugural grant recipients, who shared updates on how 2025 grant funding strengthened and expanded their programs. Their stories served as a reminder of the meaningful difference members can make through collective giving. Members also heard from WGC member Sheila Schroeder, author of It's Time to Talk, A Woman's Guide to Navigating Money Conversations, who shared insights on navigating financial conversations. Members said they look forward to continuing the conversation with Schroeder through a virtual member event this fall. Since launching in June of 2024, the Women's Giving Circle has continued to grow as a member-led philanthropic initiative. The circle now includes 148 members and continues to grow, with members pooling their resources and experiences to create greater collective impact in Chautauqua County. Membership contributions directly support the Circle's annual grant-making efforts, ensuring that 100% of membership dollars are invested back into the community through mission-driven grant-making. The Women's Giving Circle is an independent, member-led initiative hosted by the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, which provides administrative and back-office support. Looking ahead, the Women's Giving Circle remains committed to creating opportunities for members to connect, learn, and engage with important community issues through educational programming, networking events, and continued investment in local solutions. For more information about the Women's Giving Circle of Chautauqua County, visit crconline.org/circle or contact Lindsay Gould, that's Goold, at lgould, that's LGOOLD, at crcfonline.org. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Southwestern approves Walmart tax refund. The resolution, article by John Whitaker. The resolution of a 2025 tax assessment challenge by the owners of the Walmart Supercenter in Lakewood will cost the Southwestern Central School District more than $46,000 in lost tax revenue. Walmart will see an $11,250,000 decrease in its tax assessment with the conclusion of a 2025 tax assessment challenge filed in state Supreme Court. The filing was discontinued in July after an agreement was reached between Walmart Real Estate Business Trust in Fairfield, New Jersey, and Joel Sechrist, Bust-I town attorney. The retail store's lawyers had requested its tax assessment be decreased from $15 million in the 2025-26 tax year to $3,750,000. The agreement agreed to in July will use the $3,750,000 taxable assessment. The Southwestern Central School Board was scheduled to discuss a resolution during its meeting Tuesday to reduce Walmart's tax bill due in the district by $46,029.69 from $184,118.76 to $138,089.07. The 529 library tax levied by the school district on behalf of the Lakewood Public Library and Hazleton Public Library will be decreased from $3,404.27 to $2,553.20, according to the school board agenda. The refunded money will be taken from the district's tax certiorari reserve. When a tax assessment challenge is filed, the district allocates the disputed amount into the reserve fund so it can be funded to the taxpayer once the case is resolved. Board members also approved taking $87,404.94 from the unappropriated fund balance after Chautauqua Mall Realty Holding Company filed an assessment challenge in July. The mall's attorneys requested a decrease from the proposed $7.825 million for the three parcels that make up the entire mall property to $800,000. The property's value hasn't increased from 2025 to 2026, with a tax assessment challenge for 25 still pending in the state Supreme Court. Our records show that in 2020, the mall's assessment was $9,260,000, and that amount was reduced to $5,772. In 2021, the assessment was $9,260,000, and it was reduced to $5,592,000, and in 2022, the assessment was $9,260,000, and it has been reduced to $4,965,000. The 2023 tax assessment from the Bust-I tax assessor was $6 million, an amount mall officials said was too high, even though the mall was purchased for $6 million in September of 2022. School board members also approved moving $3,881.90 from its unappropriated fund balance to the tax certiorari reserve after three small claims assessment review cases were filed. Briefly, vets finding vets to screen 10 good men Saturday. The Fenton History Center's Veterans Program, Vets Finding Vets, has been accepted to host a screening of 10 Good Men, a World War II documentary about the B-17s, commonly referred to as Flying Fortresses. Trent Jones, director of the three-man production crew, described the work of wanting to capture real stories from the veterans themselves about what the air war over Europe was really like from one of the 10 positions on the B-17. Included is vintage film footage newly restored and upscaled to make it possible for the audience to better visualize the danger, determination, and courage it took to complete each mission. Phil Zimmer, who has worked closely with Greg Peterson to capture more than 300 World War II interviews, will present clips of 3 interviews of local B-17 veterans prior to the showing, and their families will be present. Family members of Bob Buckler, the tail gunner in the documentary, will be traveling to attend. The screening will be held at the Robert H. Jackson Center, 305 East 4th Street, Jamestown, at 7 p.m. Saturday. Tickets are still available and can be purchased online at fentonhistory.org or by calling Fenton History Center at 716-664-6256. Kennedy Library to host concert August 20th. Glenn Colton will perform at 10 a.m. August 20th at the Kennedy Free Library as part of the library's summer reading program. There is no charge to attend. For more information, call 716-267-4265. Pendergast Library schedules Dino Egg Dino jewelry making. The James Prendergast Library will hold 2 meet and make programs for those ages 14 and up in August. Meet and make Design a 3D Dino Egg will be held at 1:30 p.m. Saturday, August 15th, with those attending learning. On Thursday, August 27th at 5:30 p.m., the library will be offering meet and make dino jewelry, with those attending using dinosaur charms to make earrings, bracelets, and more. There is no cost to attend this program. Registration is recommended as supplies may be limited by calling the library's information desk at 716-484-7135, extension 2226. To learn more, visit prendergastlibrary.org. To view our programming calendar, the library is open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. weekdays and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday. National Guard soldiers earn promotions. Major General Ray Shields, the Adjutant General for the state of New York, announces the promotion of members of the New York Army National Guard in recognition of their capability for additional responsibility and leadership. Brandon Johnson from Asheville, assigned to Bravo Troop, 2nd Squadron, 101st Cavalry Regiment, received a promotion July 17, 2026, to the rank of Specialist. Noah Maybury from Lakewood, assigned to Delta Company, 3rd Battalion, 126th Aviation Regiment, received a promotion July 25, 2026, to the rank of Specialist. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Jamestown Post-Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Area Police Report. Lakewood Bustye Police. An 18-year-old Jamestown youth was charged with DWI, aggravated DWI, per se 1.18 blood alcohol content or higher, 4th-degree grand larceny, 4th-degree criminal possession of stolen property, 4th-degree criminal mischief, unregistered motor vehicle, expired registration, unlicensed operator, moving from lane unsafely, and driving across hazard markings after a one-vehicle accident at 6:26 a.m. Tuesday on Bustye Sugar Grove Road. Lakewood Bust-I police officers responded to the scene and found a truck wrecked in the ditch on the west side of the road. Officers identified an 18-year-old Jamestown youth who was allegedly intoxicated and had allegedly stolen the truck from a Bust-I resident. The youth will be in Bust-I Town Court later. Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office, Charlotte. James M. Corbin, 29, of Cassadaga, was charged with second-degree attempted assault, endangering the welfare of a child, fourth-degree criminal mischief, and criminal obstruction of breathing or blood circulation at 12:43 a.m. Wednesday after deputies responded to an address in Charlotte for a report of an altercation. Corbin had allegedly gotten into a physical altercation with another individual. He was taken to the Chautauqua County Jail for centralized arraignment. Westfield. Shannon M. Smith, 43, of Ripley, was charged with speeding, DWI, and DWI per se at 8:42 p.m. Tuesday after a traffic stop in the town of Westfield for a traffic violation. Smith was charged and taken to the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office, where she was later released to be in Westfield Town Court later. In Ellery, Timothy J. Hayes, 64, of Jamestown, was charged with trespassing at 5:54 p.m. August 8th after deputies responded to a Beck Road home in Ellery. Beck allegedly entered posted property. He will be in Ellery Town Court later. Jamestown Police. Kevin L. Newby, 55, of Jamestown, was charged with DWAI drugs, second-degree aggravated unlicensed operation, prior conviction, unregistered motor vehicle, uninspected motor vehicle, and operating without insurance at 4:28 p.m. Tuesday after officers stopped a gas-powered golf cart with 3 wheels being driven on Windsor Street near East 6th Street. Newby was already operating the golf cart while impaired by drugs and was taken into custody without incident. Newby will be in Jamestown City Court later. Jordan D. Baca, 31, of Jamestown, was charged with second-degree criminal contempt and first-degree criminal contempt at 6:36 p.m. Tuesday after officers responded to a West Side address. Baca had allegedly tried to enter the residence. Officers found Becca had allegedly threatened the victim earlier in the day, with both incidents allegedly taking place while there is a valid stay-away order of protection against Baca from the other person. Baca was found a short distance away and charged without incident. Baca was taken to the city jail until he could be arraigned. Megan M. Webb, 27, of Jamestown, was charged with resisting arrest and 7th-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance, as well as having an outstanding arrest warrant at 9:25 p.m. Tuesday after officers responded to the area of North Main and East 2nd Streets for a warrant check. Officers found Webb, who allegedly immediately attempted to flee, leading officers on a brief foot pursuit before being taken into custody. Officers also allegedly located a quantity of controlled pills in Webb's possession. Webb was transported to the city jail until she could be arraigned. Aim, Archery, and Adventure. Article by Forrest Fisher. On Stockton Hill, where the landscape lends itself naturally to hunting, shooting, and time spent outdoors, the Bear Lake Rod and Gun Club has become a gathering place for people who believe outdoor recreation is about more than the activity itself. It is about learning, camaraderie, conservation, and sharing the experience with others. Established in 1946, the Bear Lake Rod and Gun Club is a family-friendly club offering rifle, pistol, and archery opportunities, along with social activities and a strong emphasis on safety and education. Under the leadership of President Rudy Abersold, The club continues to welcome newcomers and seasoned outdoors people alike. Its approximately 20-acre property provides members with a place to hunt, practice archery, and enjoy the outdoors close to home. One of the club's regular highlights is its monthly informal firearms shoot, held the second Sunday of the month. The next shoot is Sunday, September 13th, with pistol shooting beginning at 10 a.m. at distances of 10 to 15 yards. Each month brings a different drill designed to keep things interesting while reinforcing safe shooting practices. Each month we work on a different drill to make it fun and safe, firearms expert Donald Campbell said. Recent participants tried the club's new dueling tree, adding a little friendly competition to the day. At noon, attention shifts to the 200-meter rifle range. Shooters might test themselves in a big bore knockdown contest or try newer targets such as the Angry Hornet for centerfire rifles and the Know Your Limit target for rimfire shooters. Campbell emphasizes that the goal is as much about learning and enjoying the sport as it is about accuracy. Emphasis is on fun and safety. Adults with legal firearms are welcome at these informal shoots, providing an opportunity for experienced shooters to refine their skills and newcomers to learn in a welcoming environment with experienced mentors on site. Campbell, who spent 15 years competing at the Ridgeway Rifle Club in 1,000-yard competitions, is also available to help rifle shooters develop their long-range skills. Firearms are only part of the Bear Lake story. The club has become particularly active in archery, hosting regional American Archery Association events and welcoming archers for practice and competition. The club's archery program has helped make Bear Lake a destination for bow hunters and target archers throughout the region. That combination, skill building, friendly competition, safety, and simply getting people outdoors, captures the spirit of Bear Lake. Like the best traditional outdoor clubs, it is a place where knowledge gets passed from one generation to the next, where a newcomer can ask a question without hesitation, and where a day outside can turn into an evening of stories and new friendships. Chautauqua County Federation of Sportsmen President Zen Olo says that the club also hosts a Federation monthly meetings several times a year. Membership at the Bear Lake Rod and Gun Club is $40 annually for an individual or $60 for a family. For membership information, contact Rudy Ebersold at 716-397-9717. For information about the monthly firearm shoots, contact Don Campbell at 716-338-2050. Starting today and every Thursday through September 24th, Eversold says the club will open their 3D archery range, featuring 20 targets at 4 p.m., inviting all archers and bow hunters to practice and tune their skills before the New York State Big Game Archery season opens on October 1st. This is a non-scoring, non-competitive event just for practice. The September 13th firearms shoot is open to members and the public. The season's monthly firearm shoots conclude in October. I respect and admire local conservation clubs like the Bear Lake Rod and Gun Club that build the outdoor community through open invitation to share in the outdoors and build their skills. Gotta love the Chautauqua outdoors. Calendar: August 12th through the 23rd, the Erie County Fair. Visit their conservation building, Erie County Fairgrounds, 5600 McKinley Parkway, Hamburg. Info at 716-649-3900. August 13th, which is today, August 13th through the 16th. Okay, those things are all done. Okay, and that's your calendar. Oh, we still can. There is August 13th through the 16th, Hawkeye Bowman Archery, the 33rd Annual Traditional Shoot. Events, camping, and more at 13300 Clinton Street in Alden. Call Nadine Fuel at 716-427-9076, or for info go to ecfsc.org. Let's see, August 14th through the 16th, Sportsman's Rendezvous Outdoor Show, hunting, fishing, seminars, supplies and gear, and more at the Cattaraugus County Fairgrounds, 501 Erie Street, Little Valley. For info, 716-474-7251. August 16th, Sunday, 50s Trap Shoot, Celeron Rod and Gun Club, 210 Livingston Avenue, Celeron. Registration 9 to 10 a.m. For info, call Jerry Martin at 814-688-9209. Also on August 16th, Bart's Trolling Invitational, one-day trolling only walleye tournament, $500 entry, 6-fish bag, New York State only. See Dan Hanley at 716-480-9862. And finally on August 16th, the Ellington Rod and Gun Club, Don't Know Partner Trap League, at 1045 Hagerden Hill Road, Ellington. For information, call 716-287-3987. Today in history, on August 13, 1961, on what would become known as Barbed Wire Sunday, East Germany sealed the border between Berlin's eastern and western sectors before building a wall that would divide the city for the next 28 years. Also on this date, in 1521, Spanish conqueror Hernando Cortez captured Tenochtitlan, present-day Mexico City, from the Aztecs. In 1792, French revolutionaries arrested and imprisoned King Louis XVI. He would be executed by guillotine the following January. In 1889, William Gray of Hartford, Connecticut, received a patent for the first coin-operated telephone. In 1918, Opha May Johnston became the first woman to join the U.S. Marine Corps. In 1952, Big Mama Thornton first recorded the song Hound Dog, 4 years before Elvis Presley's famous version was released. In 1969, New York City held a ticker tape parade for Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. In 1995, Baseball Hall of Famer Mickey Mantle died at a Dallas hospital of rapidly spreading liver cancer at age 63. And in 2011, 7 people were killed when a stage collapsed at the Indiana State Fair during a powerful storm just before a concert was to begin. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from recent issues of the Jamestown Post-Journal. We read from the Jamestown Post-Journal every Saturday at 6 p.m. Your reader has been Bruce. Thank you for listening, and as always, make it a great day.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Niagara Falls Review. At 8 o'clock, we have Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal. And at 9 o'clock, we have Sports Illustrated. Stay with us for these readings and more. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.